Halo semuanya, berjumpa lagi dalam Dimas Storytelling Random atau bisa dikat Dimas SD Random. Kali ini aku akan melanjutkan kembali untuk chapter 2 yang judulnya tetap sama, yaitu Throne of Glass, karangan dari Sarah J. Maas. Ya, aku lanjutin aja chapter 2-nya ya. Oke, kita mulai saja ya. Karena terus terang agak creepy banget kalau sendirian banget ya. Just kidding. Chapter 2. Your Highness, said the captain of the guard. He straightened from a low bow and removed his hood, revealing close-cropped chestnut hair. The hood has definitely been meant to intimidate her into submission during their walk, as if that sort of trick could work on her. Despite her irritation, she blinked at the sight of his face. He was so young. Captain Westfaal was not excessively handsome, but she couldn't help finding the ruggedness of his face and the clarity of his golden brown eyes rather appealing. She cocked her head, now nearly aware of her wretched dirtiness. "This is she?" the crown prince of Adelan asked, and Celaena's head whipped around as the captain nodded. Both of them stared at her, waiting for her to bow. When she remained upright, Cole shifted on his feet, and the prince glanced at his captain before lifting his chin a bit higher. A bow to him indeed. If she were bound for the gallows, she would most certainly not spend the last moments of her life in groveling submission. Thundering steps issued from behind her, and someone grabbed her by neck. Celaena only glimpsed crimson cheeks and the sandy mustache before being thrown to the icy marble floor. Pain slammed through her face, like splintering her vision. Her arms ached and her bound hands kept her joints from properly aligning. Though she tried to stop them, tears of pain welled. "That is the proper way to greet your future king," a red-faced man snapped at Celaena. The assassin hissed, baring her teeth as she twisted her head to look at the kneeling bastard. He was almost as large as her overseer, clothed in red and orange that matched in his tiny hair. His obedient eyes glittered as he gripped tightened on her neck. If she could move her right arm just a few inches, she could throw him off balance and grab his sword. The shackles dug into her stomach, and whizzing, boiling rage turned her face scarlet. After a too long moment, the crown prince spoke. "I don't quite comprehend why you force someone to bow when the purpose of a guard gesture is to display allegiance and respect." His words were caught with glorious boredom. Celaena tried to pivot a free eye to the prince, but could only see a pair of black leather boots against the white floor. "It's clear that you respect me, Duke Barrington, but it's a bit unnecessary to put such effort into forcing Celaena Sarudutian to have the same opinion. You and I know very well she has no love for my family. So perhaps your intent is to humiliate her." He paused, and she could have sworn his eye fell on her face. "But I think she had enough for that." She stopped for another moment, then asked, "Don't you have meeting with Endovier's treasurer? I won't want you to be late, especially when you came all this way to meet with him." Understanding the dismissal, her tormentor grunted and released her. Celaena peeled her cheek from the marble but lay on the floor until he stood and laughed. If she managed to escape, perhaps she'd hunt down this Duke Barrington fellow and return the warmth of his greeting. As she rose, she frowned at the imprint of grit she left behind on the otherwise spotless floor, and the clank of her shackles echoing through the silent room. But she'd been trained to be assassin since the age of 8. Since the day the king of the assassins found her half dead on the banks of a frozen river and brought her to his keep. She wouldn't be humiliated by anything, least of all being dirty. Gathering her pride, she tossed her long braid behind the shoulder and lifted her head. Her eyes met those of the prince. Dorian Havillard smiled at her. It was a polished smile and reeked of the court-trained charm. Sprawled across the throne, he had his chin propped by a hand, his golden crown glinting in the soft light. On his black doublet, an embossed gold rendering of the royal wyvern occupied the entirety of the chest. His red cloak fell gracefully around him and his throne. Yet there was something in his eyes, strikingly blue, the color of the waters of the southern countries, and the way they contrast with his raven black hair that made her pause. He was achingly handsome and couldn't have been older than 20. Princes are supposed to be handsome. They are sniffling, stupid, repulsive creature. This one, this. How unfair of him to be royal and beautiful. She shifted on her feet as he frowned, surveying her in turn. I thought I asked you to clean her, he said to Captain Westfaal, who stepped forward. She forgot there was anyone else in the room. She looked at her rags and stained kin, and she couldn't suppress the twinge of shame. What a miserable state for a girl of former beauty. At a passing glance, one might think her blue or gray, perhaps even green, depending on the color of her clothing. Up close, though, these wearing ears were offset by the brilliant ring of gold around her pupils. But it was her golden hair that caught the attention of most, hair that still maintained glimmer of its glory. In short, Celaena Sardotin was blessed with a handful of attractive features that compensate for the majority of average ones, and by early adolescence, she discovered that with the help of cosmetics, these average features could easily match the extraordinary assets. But now, standing before Dorian Havillard as little more than a cute rat, her face warm as Captain Westfaal spoke. I don't want to keep you waiting. The Crown Prince shook his head when Cole reached for her. Don't bother with the bat just yet. I can see her potential. The prince straightened, keeping his attention to Celaena. I don't believe that we haven't made the pleasure of the introduction, but as you probably know, I'm Dorian Havillard, a crown prince of Underland, perhaps now crown prince of most of Aurelia. She ignored the surge and crash of bitter emotion that awoke in the name. And you have Celaena Sardotin, Underland's greatest assassin. Perhaps the greatest assassin in all of Aurelia. He studied her tense body before he raised his dark, well-groomed brows. You seem a little young. He rested his elbows on his thighs. I heard that some rather fascinating stories about you. How do you find Endovier after living in such exist in the rift floor? Aragorn asked. I couldn't be happier. She groaned as her jagged nails cut into her palms. After a year, you seem to be more or less alive. I wonder how that's possible when the average life expectancy in these mines is a month. Quite a mystery, I'm sure. She batted her eyelash and adjusted her shackles as if they were lace gloves. The crown prince turned to his captain. She has someone of a tongue, doesn't she? And she doesn't sound like a member of rebel. I should have not. Celaena interjected. Your Highness! Cal Westfaal snapped at her. What? Celaena asked. You will address him as a Your Highness. Celaena gave him a mocking smile and then returned her attention to the prince. Dorian Havillard, to her surprise, laughed. Now you do know that you're not a slave, don't you? Has your sentence taught you nothing? Had her arms been unshackled, she would have crossed them. I don't see how wandering in a mine can teach anything beyond how to use a pickaxe. And you never try to escape? A slow, weak smile spread across her lips. Once. The prince's brows rose, and he turned to Captain Westfaal. I wasn't told that. Celaena glanced over her shoulder at Cale, who gave his prince an apologetic look. The chief overseer informed me this afternoon that there was one incident. 3 months, 4 months, she interrupted. 4 months, Cale said. After Sardodian arrived, she attempted to flee. She waited for the rest of the story, but he was definitely clearly finished. That's not even the best part. There was the best part, the Crown Prince said, face carved between a wince and a smile. Cole glared at her before speaking. There's no hope for escaping from Endovier. Your father made sure that each of Endovier's sentries could shoot a squirrel from 200 paces away. To attempt to flee is a suicide. But your life, the prince said to her. Celaena's smile faded as a memory struck her. Yes. What happened? Dorian asked. Her eyes turned cold and hard. I snapped. That's all you have to offer an explanation for what you did? Captain Westfaal demanded. She killed her overseer and 23 sentries before they caught her. She was a finger stripped from the wall before the guards knocked her unconscious. So, the Dorian said. Celaena said, so, do you know how far the wall is from the mines? He gave her a blank look. She closed her eyes and sighed dramatically. From my shaft, it was 363 feet. I had someone measure. So, Dorian repeated. Captain Westfaal, how far do slaves make it from the mines when they try to escape? 3 feet, he muttered. Endovier sentries usually shoot a man before he moved 3 feet. The Crown Prince's silence was not her desired effect. You know it was suicide, he said at last, amusement gone. Perhaps it had been a bad idea for her to bring up the wall. Yes, she said, but they didn't kill you. Your father ordered that I was to keep alive for as long as possible to endure the misery that Endovier gives the abundance, a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature when drove her. I never intended to escape. The pity in his eyes made her want to hit him. Do you bear many scars? Asked the prince. She shrugged and he smiled, forcing the mood to leave as he stepped from the dais. Turn around and let me view your back. Celaena frowned, but obeyed as he walked to her, Cale stepping closer. I can't make them out. She clearly took all this dirt, the prince said, inspecting what a keen shadow drew the scraps of her shirt. She growled and scowled even more when he said, what a terrible stench too. When one doesn't have access to the bath and perfume, I suppose one cannot smell as finely as you, your highness. The Crown Princess clicked his tongue and circled her slowly. Cale and all the guards watched them with their sword as they shot. In less than a second, she could get her arms over the prince's head and have her shackles crushing his windpipe. It might be worth it just to see the expression on Cale's face. But the prince went on, obviously on how dangerously close he stood to her. Perhaps she should be insulted. From what I can see, he said, there are 3 large scars, and perhaps some small ones. Not as painful as expected, but, well, the great dresses can cover it, I suppose. Dresses? He was standing so near she could see the fine thread detail on his jacket and smell not perfume but horses and iron. Dorian grinned. What remarkable eyes you have, and how angry you are! Coming with strangling distance of the crown prince of Adeline, son of the man who sentenced her to a slow, miserable death, her self-control balanced on a fragile edge, dancing along a cliff. I demand to know, she began, but the captain of the guard pulled her back from the prince with spine-snapping force. I wasn't going to kill him, you buffoon. Watch your mouth before I throw you back in the mains. The brown-eyed captain said. Oh, I don't think you do that. And why is that? Carol replied. Dorian strode to his throne and sat down, his sapphire eyes bright. She looked from one man to another and squared her shoulders. Because there's something you want from me, something you badly enough to come here yourself. I'm an idiot, though I was foolish enough to be captured, and I can see that this is some sort of secret business. Why else would I leave the captain and venture his far? You've been testing me all this time to see if I physically and mentally sound. Well, I know that I'm still sane, that I'm not broken, despite what the incident at the wall might suggest. So I demand to be told why you here and what service you wish for of me, if I am not destined for the gallows. The man exchanged glances. Dorian stapled his fingers. I have proposition for you. Her chest tightened. Never, not in her most fanciful dreams, had she imagined that the opportunity to speak with Dorian Havelier would arise. She could kill him so easily, targeted grin from his face. She could destroy the king as he had destroyed her. But perhaps his position could lead to escape. If she got beyond the wall, she could make it, run and disappear into mountains and live in solitude the dark green of the wild, with a pine needle carpet and a blanket of star overhead. She could do it. She just needed to clear off the wall. She had come this close before. I'm listening, was all she said. Oke, bisa juga akhirnya ya. Jujur, panjang banget ya. Oke, saja dari aku ya. Karena sudah malam, mungkin kita bisa ketemu lagi ke depannya ya. Semoga saja kita bisa ketemu lagi. Jangan lupa subscribe dan like komentar Anda. Tanpa kalian, aku nggak akan berada di sini untuk membacakan kisah cerita selanjutnya ya. See you around and bye-bye.